All right, so today we're going to be talking about adding form to your existing SoundTrap project. Now, right now in my SoundTrap project, I have one pattern that repeats itself that sounds like this. And it repeats again. Now this sounds good, and we could honestly use this for the whole song, but when we add form to a song, what we're going to do is give it a shape. We're going to make some sections sound different than other ones, and we can also put an intro and an ending on it. So a couple things that you can do to change or to create a new section of your song, like maybe if you have this repeated thing that's happening over, maybe you could call that your verse, right? But then you want to change your verse a little bit and maybe give it a little bit of energy so that it could be your hook or your chorus. One thing that I did was for this second section right here, I added in a couple of voice tracks, and you can see that the beginning part is going to just play again, and now I've added this vocal melody on top of it. So let's hear the difference for when that comes in. So now we've almost got a second section of our song. It sounds similar to the first section, but not exactly the same. So this could easily pass for a chorus. There's actually one more thing that I want to do, which we talked about when using the patterns beat maker, is I want to actually put in a little hi-hat thing to complement this. So I'm going to add in a bunch of hi-hats here, and again, this is just to give this section a little bit more energy, so that when it comes in, it's not just the same kind of section over and over. So you could call this verse and chorus. You could call this A and B. You could call this A and maybe A prime, meaning that it's the similar to A, but it's a tiny bit different enough for it to be its own thing. But now let's hear what that sounds like with the vocals added in and the hi-hat track. Right, so if this were, so this is kind of a hip-hop style song. If this were a hip-hop song, or if this were a song that you were going to sing on top of, you could easily do your verse lyrics, your more chilled out lyrics here during this section. And then in this section where there's a little bit more energy, you could put your catchy hook, chorus, whatever you want to call it in here, right? And essentially the song, like a lot of pop music, could just be these two sections over and over and over and over. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to duplicate these by selecting everything, hitting edit, and then actually I think what I'm going to do is hit Command C to copy, put my play header right here where this ends, and then hit paste. And now what I have is I have like a verse, chorus, right? And actually for my chorus, I'm going to go like that. I'm going to round this out a little bit. So we go from this section, which has a little bit less energy, to this section, which has a little bit more energy. Back to this section that's kind of mellowed out. And then goes back into the chorus or hook or B section. So now what we want to try and do is add a little bit of an intro. So what I can do to do that is select this whole thing, and I just want to move this over a little bit, maybe like this. And I want to take maybe a piece of my song like this right here, and I want to copy and paste it over here at the beginning. Now what I'm doing with this is I've taken a memorable part of the song, and I'm gonna kind of have it start things off for the intro. I'm gonna have it play without anything else, and then we're gonna gradually layer things in to create our little intro effect that we have here. And then we have kind of the drop that happens. Another thing that I could do to make this sound a little bit more light and intro-y is I can hit transpose it up an octave. And I'm even gonna make it its own track. So I'm gonna hit duplicate track here, and I'm gonna make this intro thing its own track. So now I have my little intro loop separate from everything else, and I'm gonna add some effects on it. I'm gonna take away some of the bass, I'm gonna up some of the treble, up some of the reverb, and what I'm also gonna do is add a really tiny bit of delay and see what that does. And I'm just messing around with things just to see kind of what happens here. Let's see right, and then we have kind of the drop that comes in after that. I actually like that, but what I want to do is when I'm hearing this in my headphones, this mid section, I'm actually going to move this delay over to here. Once I get an equalizer in here, I'm going to move this. Can I move this? I can't move it. That's sad. Alright, so what I'm going to do is get rid of more lows, more like mid lows. Let's see how that sounds from the beginning. So again, we're trying to take out the bigness of it. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I like that. Cool, and we have like a little intro-y thing. I like this a lot. The other thing that sometimes folks do is they might add some type of a sound effect in the beginning. So you could look inside of here and see if there's any kind of like risers or builds or anything like this. What is this? Kind of like that, but it's like way too, these are all like way too, yeah, these are all kind of, these are really intense. But maybe we can still use one just to kind of show you guys how to do this. We'll do bass drop slam 10. Maybe we'll try to take some of the intensity out of it. But yeah, so what you can do is you can put something like this in, some type of effect. Again, this is all just to get the song started off and to kind of get things happening here. This didn't want to get put in. Let's try to put it again. There we go. And then I'm going to move this track up to here because it's a part of my intro. And I'm going to turn this like way down because this is just a little effect to kind of get things going. And I want to move this in a spot where it builds up and it kind of drops off in a way that makes sense. And I might actually cut it too. So let's see. Okay, so that wasn't good. Let's back it up a little bit because again, we want this to kind of drop when this drops. So let's hear this. So maybe what I can even do is, I like the way this is happening, but there's like a lot of bass in the beginning now. And I want to add a little bit of volume automation. Let's just make sure that this is... Okay, so the drop is right here. So I'm actually going to go like this. See how that sounds. That actually wasn't good. I want this to happen, I think, right on the line. Let's hear that again. Okay, so it's good, but it's way too intense, and I want to back it off a little bit sooner. So I'm going to do that. We're going to see how that looks. Cool. Another thing that I might do to this to get rid of some of the intensity is I might add an effect on my bass drop that just, a really simple EQ that just gets rid of some of the really low lows, just because, I don't know. It's a little intense. And there you go. We have ourselves a cool little intro. And now, one thing that we could do to have an outro to our song is, a lot of times, especially in this style, it's like pop music, hip hop, we'll just have our last little loop here be extended and do a little bit of a fade out. Or not fade out, it could also just repeat. But if you wanted to do a fade out, what you could do is we can add some automation on this, the volume knob. I'm just clicking in here and adding things. So maybe on the last 2 times, what I want to do is just click here, click at the end, and just kind of drag it down like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my beat. So I'm going to click here. Click here. And they're both off at the same time. I can get rid of my automation, but I can still see my automation, which is really cool. So I'm going to listen to it from the beginning, and we'll see how it sounds. Here's the intro. Now I kind of have my verse right here. And the verse could go longer, but for demonstration's sake, here comes the chorus. And then we're back into our verse, or our A section. Again into our chorus or B section. And then we have our verse, which if we listen for long enough, you can see that here it starts to fade out, gradually getting softer. Right? So there you have it. Just a really, really simple way to add a little bit of form to your song. So the first thing we did was we made 2 clear, distinct sections. And then we changed up our main riff to create an intro. And then we looped our A section or our verse and added a fade out to create an ending. Try this week on your tracks and let me know if you have any questions.